I spent a week in a completely dark and silent room. This is what's known as a darkness retreat. Dark room experiences have been used for centuries by tribes and various cultures around the world as rites of passage, therapeutic intervention, and as a method to get in touch with the deepest part of oneself. No light, no sound, no stimulus, just me and my brain. It is also used as a time for deep reflection, introspection, meditation, and stillness. Through this removal of stimulus, notably the light, an excess of melatonin creates a reaction in the pineal gland that produces endogenous DMT, also known as dimethyltryptamine, one of the most powerful psychedelic drugs that is made endogenously in the human body. After only a couple of days, sometimes sooner, the DMT produces intense hallucinations, visuals, and abstract fractals that many believe to be sometimes entities from other dimensions. When I first heard of the Darkness Retreat in 2020 from a person I admire very much, Aubrey Marcus,
whatever that thing is, was saying, you need medicine, and the medicine is the darkness.
I knew that I had to do it, and I was called to do it. Over the last decade, I've invested countless hours of meditation, yoga, psychedelic experiences, trauma and deep work, understanding my shadow, and this was the macro dose of all of that work. While at times it can be described as extremely peaceful, it is also described as extremely terrifying.
Something terrifying about the night.
Before going in, I had read and understood that this was probably going to be the most challenging and profound experience of my life. And now, after a few weeks of integration, I can confidently say that that was correct. Here's my experience, and here's what I learned. I'm heading from Spokane, Washington to Ashland, Oregon for my week-long darkness retreat. Got my gas station coffee here. I'm feeling pretty good right now, definitely a little bit of an anxiety, but going in with no expectations, just intentions, and we'll see what comes up. So keep you posted and get some footage of what is on the way. Pretty cool how amazing parts of the country that you live in are that you've never seen, and then you get to see them. And I've gotten to travel a lot of places, but it's the first time in this area, and just feeling fortunate and lucky to be able to be put in that headspace for what I'm about to do. But yeah, just getting prepped, still driving, got another hour and a half. So yeah, made it to Ashland. Yeah, owners of the Darkness Retreat recommended me checking out this park called Lithia Park. Get some journaling done, some reflection time before I go in. So something I'm really noticing right now is how present I feel. It's like really taking in light and the trees and nature, and I think it's obviously because I'm about to not see it for a week, but it's important before we do challenges like this, or just challenges in general, to appreciate what's around us, because we do overlook it so often. And definitely looking forward to seeing it again. One of my biggest intentions for this is to tame my restlessness, the desire to always feel like I have to be somewhere else or do something differently. My biggest intention to just be, surrender to where I'm at. Part of taming the restlessness is also making the decision and sticking to it. It's not so much about what choice that you make, it's about the commitment to that choice. And you can never really know if it's the right or wrong choice, and I don't really like those labels anyway, but until later. As long as you keep doing the right things, the things that feel right to you, then the best possible outcome will happen. I've made a lot of decisions in my life, some good, a lot bad, some decisions I regret making that I wish I wouldn't have. But overall, I am excited to test myself, be still. And I've been practicing for this for a very long time, and I have every intention of seeing it through. So this little kid is showing me where to go because I apparently took a wrong turn. So he's literally running on the street to show me where to go. My truck is a good boy. I have arrived at the Darkness Retreat. So I'm just waiting for the facilitator to come get me.
The deep passion for Dark Retreats. I just find it to be such an accelerated experience.
This is my dark room. First, before we go in, just give you a little pan view of the land they have here. Very, very sweet people. Their kids are very kind. Scott, the main owner, or the main person who runs this, seems very kind. So we'll go in here and show you my setup. Where they bring food through this door. A little fireplace here. And we walk into the dark room. There's my bed. Little area to do yoga in. You can see. And then over here I got my little sacred space. I'll be lighting my candle here and my sage before we kick this thing off. And then got my journal, voice recorder, some supplements that I'll be taking, vitamin D, vitamin C. My bathtub here. It's gravity controlled water, that's what he said. So runs directly off the mountain, which is cool. And then toilet, sink, no mirror. Just so you guys give you a little gist of just how dark it is in here. And the door shuts. And it is, as you can tell, darker than dark. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As soon as I stepped out of my truck and started walking up the hill, my brain seemed to switch. Into something that felt right. I don't know if it's something in the land or just being grounded, walking around barefoot, just no cell phone, no service, just me and my thoughts. And it's so quiet. Something happens when the mind is removed from stimulus, and I'm about to have even far more stimulus removed. It begins to quiet itself, and it's a beautiful feeling. It feels really good. I was worried about a lot of things. I'm definitely still worried about a lot of things, but in a different way. I'm more looking forward to diving into it. Yeah, we'll just see what comes up. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm very happy that I'm here. I'm proud of myself for doing it. Another crazy thing that the people that live on this land do, it's actually super cool. If somebody needs to get somebody's attention, they do like calls, like whoop, hear it. They were just doing it, but it's pretty cool way of communicating with each other. Goodbye, son. No expectations, just intentions. I intend to rest. I intend to go deep into meditations. I intend to surrender to whatever comes. I intend to tell myself the truth and whatever truth is within me. I intend to be gentle to myself and show myself love. I intend to go towards discomfort even when it's challenging. I intend to tell those that I love how much I love them. I intend to attempt to unravel my anger, emotions, and to understand them more. I intend to understand my need for external recognition and validation more. I intend to show myself acceptance, compassion, and grace, and allow myself to be where I am. I intend to move slowly and with intention. I intend to be patient. I intend to face, acknowledge, allow, and accept my vulnerabilities and my fears. I intend to see it through until the end. No expectations, just intentions. Being the person that I actually want to be is a lot better than cheating my way to that. I mean, I know I'm literally on night one, but it's like being a productive person, you kind of always like to have stuff to do. Producing isn't purpose. And my purpose is not to produce. My purpose is to be exactly where I am, when I am.
Woke up, kind of. I think I'm awake and I'm still so tired. You have a feeling for time, but in here it's different. It's so dark, and like what I wasn't expecting is how quiet it is. Literally no sound. I mean, I've only been in here for like 12 hours, something like that, but I've already got like pulses of light and some kind of weird shapes. The darkness just envelopes you. It's crazy. It's just like a darkness that you've never seen before. No pun intended. It just feels so infinite, and you basically just feel completely detached from everything. I mean, I guess that's what it is, but it's crazy how stimulated we are all the time, This is a whole nother level. At the end of the day, like, that's the whole point of this. So many things in my life have not gone probably the best way they could have, because I wasn't showing myself the love that I needed to show myself. I think I can say that I do love myself right now. I love him. I love him right now. for where I am and for doing this and for actually like trying every day. I've just had every intention of trying to heal this child inside of me that's just needed a fucking hug. Heal the boy and the man will appear. But accomplishments aren't the point. The point is accomplishments, how you feel in the process. And usually I've just not felt very good. And I think it's just because I don't know how to love myself, and I'm also just so exhausted all the time from anxiety and stress and just worrying about like what I have to do next. And so it just feels really nice to be in here and to be able to just practice being me. Sometimes you're not going to be where you necessarily want to be, but you're exactly where you are. That there's like that, that the limbic part of my brain, the emotional part of my brain that's trying to rationalize why I should just leave. Like, oh, you didn't even need to come here. Like, you've already figured this out. And it's like I try to take care of myself. I don't get it. Like, I try to do the things right that I need to. And other people can just lay their head down at night and just go to sleep. And my mind just won't stop. Something interesting that the darkness has kind of taught me, though, so far, is that when you take your hands off of your mind, it kind of begins to organize itself. So that's why it's filling it with, your subconscious is filling it with things to think about. can literally hear my heart beating. I've never necessarily been scared of the darkness more than scared of my darkness. I just never thought that I could say those things about myself. I never thought that I could say that I'm proud of myself. And I think I do. I think I love myself, you know. My entire life, I've just spent my life, I was good at sports, or getting good at guitar, or getting good at singing, and then I started to get a little bit more like, quote unquote, manly when I was 21, 22-ish, then I started to get attention from girls, and then from then on it became not just attention from women, but attention from anybody that would fill that, like, because I was getting validated for something that wasn't even anything to do with me. You know, those aren't the things that matter. How big your fucking muscles are, how tall you are, what you look like, how fat your ass is, how big and fake your boobs are. Like, that shit does not fucking matter. It doesn't. None of it matters. What matters is how you feel about yourself by yourself. And I just have so much. I have so fucking much. I just have always... I get what I want. You know, you put it out there that you want something, and then it comes to you, and then you don't even fucking appreciate it when it's there. You just move on to the next fucking thing. Whether it's a person, or a vehicle, or a job, or... And most importantly, if you have people in your life that are there and that won't talk shit about you, and that will stand up for you in the face of your absence, and that will build you up and encourage you and celebrate your wins and celebrate your losses too and support you. And if you can somehow carve out a meaningful purpose. But if all of those things, and you're unhappy, then you have a fucking disease. And I have that disease too. But over the last 2 years, I think, especially coming to these revelations, and especially over the last 10 years, just putting in this work that I have, to just think that I'm finally starting to get there. And it's just a really beautiful feeling, no matter how bad it might seem, like it sounds right now. To know that I'm healing, because my entire fucking life I felt uncomfortable. What a fucking waste it is to just let the darkness just overcome you, and let your triggers become your master, and your emotions become, and then for you to become a slave to your emotions. And you just feel like nothing can change, and depression and trauma can instigate that. I'm not denying that. But they only feel permanent because we haven't embraced the impermanence of them. They only feel permanent because we haven't understood them for what they are. And they seem debilitating at times, I know. Sometimes it seems like nothing will get better.
but it's just so much easier to just stay in anything. It's so much easier to stay in a job you hate because it pays you the money. We value things that are expedient but not meaningful. Those aren't my words, but what's going to give your life the meaning that it needs is going toward the discomfortable feelings.
Ow, motherfucker. Straight up just peed on myself in the bathtub. I peed in the bathtub, I didn't even care. So, whatever. Hey Siri. I'm sorry, I'm not fucking in here. You're all alone. Goodbye. Okay. Damn. Darkness Retreat is kind of like camping, except it's just dark all the time. That's not a good analogy. It's like camping if you were blind. It's basically what a blind person does when they go camping. Except they probably go with other people, because it's like how would a blind person go camping by themselves, you know? They couldn't, because they can't drive unless they had just walked into the woods, which is like not a good idea if you're blind. You fucking, oh hey, I'm just gonna go straight, and you end up going fucking left. Not even straight, but just go left, and then you run into a fucking beaver dam or something, and then you end up drowned in a creek because you're blind. Not a good analogy either.
Also, I've been farting in here so much. Just creating this fart box. Fart box retreat. No light, no sound. Just farts.
Because in order to feel at peace, you have to be scared. Because being at peace is scary. But you only reach that state of peace by doing everything uncomfortable first. I've always had this fear of intimacy, a fear of closeness, especially in intimate relationships. I've always been fearful of something being comfortable, because comfort has never felt comforting to me. It's felt chaotic. I believe that I'm probably getting the onset of the DMT, and I'm going to do my best to not expect that again, but I think it's coming. Blinking lights. It's almost like these, similar to ketamine in the way it's kind of like melting in and out and shifting from one side of my peripheral to the other. It's going up and down. This wave of light coming really bright and then dissipating. It's beautiful, actually. It's like the northern lights of my mind. I just wish I could do some curls, you know, because you gotta keep those fucking buys pumped, you know what I mean? So, when nobody's looking, you still have to go for the gains. Just because somebody can't see the pump doesn't mean you shouldn't get it. I got the image of the Himalayan mountain range, and I was standing at the base of these peaks, and it was like just before nightfall, it looked like, and they were just super snowy, and like I could barely see the light over the tops of the peaks. Palpable pressure in the center of my eyes. Definitely starting to feel not scared, I would say, just the anticipation of coming out is already setting in pretty hard. I think just because alone with you, you're just with you, and it feels really good to share things with other people, and it feels good to be outside, and it feels good to see the world around you and perceive, and it's just interesting because you have no perception of anything. I just get so triggered. I get triggered, and then it seems like it's impossible to control sometimes. And if you're listening to this and you're angry or you're sad or whatever, it's not your fault either. Most people have trauma. And if you do, I empathize with you, and it's not your fault. So accept yourself for where you are, but having said that, it is your responsibility. Ignorance, by definition, is ignoring a reality. And when we ignore what we can't control, then we become present. When we ignore what we can't control, we become present. And in that sense, by definition, if you define ignorance as presence, then ignorance is bliss, because bliss is ignorance. Presence is bliss. 15 years, 20 years, you tack on nearly 2 decades of alcoholism and poor sleep, and again, that generation wasn't really taught how to eat the right ways, and what do you get? You get a guy who wakes up in the middle of the night, gets dressed, grabs his pistol, drives 2 miles from the house that he lives in because he's that sick of it and he wants it over that quickly. Parks on the other side of an overpass, sends the text, "I love you," to his 2 sons, gets out of the car, and shoots himself in the head. When that happened, I just didn't know how to feel. I think my brother took it a lot harder than me. And seeing him like that was just... But I was never angry at my dad. I think there's parts of me wish he was still around, so I just had a dad, and he comes to me in dreams quite often. And that's nice, because usually in our dreams, like my dreams that I have of him are usually really just nice and sweet, and we're just watching TV together or playing catch or something, but I don't hold any anger or resentment toward my father, and I just wish that he was still here. He was a good man, or as good as he could have been, but I just wish he was around to give me his classic dad advice, just very blunt and straightforward. It's also kind of just funny, just typical dad advice. He was just... I'm sorry, Dad, that so many horrible things happened to you. And I'm sorry that you felt that was the only way out. But I'm not mad at you. I understand what you did, and I understand why. Until then, I will continue to see you in my dreams. I love you, Dad. Visions of these white jellyfish, and they're just pulsating across my vision. again, it's just really calm and really beautiful looking. It's not scary. It's just nice to know that we have the option at any moment to slow down, and this is something that I've needed to do for a very long time, is to slow down. It's been exhausting, and I think that that's what it is I'm just, my soul has been so exhausted. The true goodness of an individual is based on the fact that we all have the choice to be evil and to do wrong and to inflict harm, and then choose not to. The underlying mechanism for everything that's ever went wrong in my life is the fundamental fear of being seen. Being seen by the world for the person just that I am, which is such a shame, because the person that I just am is not a poor moral person. And it's interesting because the person that I've created, with that veneer and that lack of vulnerability, that person doesn't even exist. I accept where I am. I accept what I've done. I accept that I am flawed, that I'm not perfect, and I take responsibility for what I've done. I accept that I am loved. I accept that I am understanding. I accept that I am generous. I acknowledge that I care. I acknowledge that I try. Elevations this time, quite a few, it's a lot of mountain landscapes. It's like, you know, the screensaver on certain computers that like changes and it's like different landscapes. It's kind of like that. It's coming in and out, different scenes from like, you know, like I said, high peaks in the desert to looks like the Himalayas, and then started to get some greens and blues, kind of like a colored map of the earth. The continents were pulsating in and out. It's just crazy. You look back at your life and you have all of these memories, you know, and sometimes you forget your memories, and your memories become diluted. It's so fascinating to just have the ability to contemplate and to think. Sometimes I just don't know what to do, what to say, how to feel, where to go, who to talk to. And that's a big thing about our anxiety. You become so absorbed with yourself and so overwhelmed with so many options. Oh, if I do this, then this will happen. If I don't do this, though, then this will happen. If I decide to go this way, then that way will be closed. And like, these infinite, endless possibilities, and it's just too much. I'm grateful for everything that I have, you know, for the people in my life. And I'm grateful for my sight. I'm grateful for things to do. Fuck, dude, that's a big one. I'm grateful for... I just miss seeing people. Even though it's hard for me to relate to people sometimes, I think it's just because I don't really give them the chance to be related to. You know, I think that's a big reason why it's been so hard for me to connect with people, is because I haven't really allowed myself to become connected to people. Strike up a conversation with somebody more, you know, or smile at somebody more, or just be not as fucking awkward. I'm so awkward. Like, I always feel like I have to fill the space. Also, the good news is that I have less time remaining the more time goes on. The more time goes on. The more time that goes on, the less time I have remaining. So much of life is just a facade. A big part of me understands, like, why people put up a facade. everything is so fucking corrupt. It's like on one hand, things are so good, and we should be so appreciative. And you just look at our systems, the systems that are in place, our political system, our justice system, our healthcare system, our education system, like everything is just a fucking lie. And what do we believe? The value of the individual to change, to grow, to tell the truth, to be forthcoming, to be loyal and disciplined. I mean, it all starts with the individual. We are not a drop in the ocean. We are the ocean in a drop. It is insane how much time you have if you remove the stimulus. So many of the things that we think we have to do, all it is self-imposition. All it is us imposing like a belief that we have to do these things. And this experience is forcing myself to be. There's a difference between forcing yourself to do and forcing yourself to be. And that's what this is. It's forcing yourself to be. It's just so unique. It's so different than anything else. Every time I move my head side to side, there's a green light, and it kind of looks like a little shooting star, and it moves to the left, moves to the right, moves to the left, and then it goes up and down. And then it's almost like a laser pointer, and it keeps going big and then small. I'm Casey Ryan. This is Dark News. For Dark Room News, I'm Casey Ryan. I'm Casey Ryan, and this is Dark... No, that's not good. I need like a... For Dark Channel News, I'm Casey Ryan. This is Casey Ryan with Dark News. We're here with Casey Ryan of the Dark Room. Now, Casey, tell us exactly what you do. Well, thank you for asking me, Casey. I appreciate this. I sit, it's just, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I lay, and, every now and then I'll take a sip of water. When things get really crazy, I like to meditate, for 5 hours, and then, that's interesting, Casey. Now tell us, what else is there to do? Thank you. I really appreciate this interview because it's good to get the word out. Nothing. There's nothing to do. I'm losing my mind. I'm having some strawberries right now that are farm fresh, right out of their garden, and god damn, forgive me, Padre, for I have sinned, because these strawberries, oh man. Oh, sweet, hearty soup. You are the best soup. You're so warm and delicious and nutritious. You make me feel not so alone in this fucking dark room. Oh, sweet, sweet soup. Sweet, salty, delicious soup. I really do think the answer to everything is just presence. It's not about not getting angry or not getting sad or not experiencing suffering or loss or heartbreak. It's just about being present with it. Whatever the feeling is, joy, sadness, tragedy, awe, beauty, catastrophe. I really just think it's about being there with it. And it's almost like the come down of a drug, Maybe that drug is stimulus. That drug is stimulation, and this is the come down from that stimulation. You can't control the mind with the mind. You have to use the body, and I think oftentimes I try to control what I'm thinking, or whatever thoughts come up. I try to, and I judge them, or I label them. It's like, I shouldn't think about that, so I try not to think about it, and then I think about it anyways, and almost like bubbles in a pond. You imagine your thoughts as bubbles rising from the depths, and they get to the surface and pop and dissipate. had a pretty terrifying vision. I know it was not necessarily terrifying, it was just, I saw the ground like moving. It was almost like, and then it was this black figure, and it was covered in like this goo, and it crawled out of the ground, and it stood up, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it was me. It looked like me. I just intuitively knew that it was me, and I think my first reaction was to attack it and fight it, and like, go away, you don't belong here. But in the vision, I just hugged it. I came up to it and walked up to it, and it extended its arms out to like push me away, and I think it might have been like some representation of my interpretation of how I view myself, and it's this dark creature who's crawling up from the ground to attack me at all times. But really, it just needs to be shown love. And that's always so hard for me, because I just never feel like I deserve that kind of treatment toward myself, and it's like it's always push harder, go harder, do more, be more productive. You're not doing enough. It's yet again pointed to the direction of unconditional love and acceptance of where and who I am right now, and who I was, and who I could be too. I'm going to try to show myself more love. I'm going to try to show everybody more love. Because we're all just these fallible, wounded humans that just need that, and I just want to start treating myself like my best friend. I want to treat my partner like she's my best friend. I want to treat my best friend like they're my best friend. I want to treat strangers like they're my best friend.
I haven't pooped yet, which is strange because I've been eating quite a bit. So, poop doesn't exist in the dark, apparently. I was born in the dark, molded by it. I just don't really know what to say right now. I always think I'm doing things wrong, maybe I'm just not doing this the right way. I don't know. I just don't know how I'm feeling about all this. And to realize how insignificant the external is at giving you any sort of internal validation. And how important it is to validate yourself, even in partnerships or any sort of relationship. It's you need to be able to fill your own cup. The only way somebody could fill that need is through self-abandonment. It's almost this tragically beautiful thing about human beings that we're just willing to not give ourselves what we need so we can give things to other people. What's ironic about that is if we don't give ourselves what we need first, there's no way we can give that to other people. You react in a way that you shouldn't react, and then you shame yourself for how you reacted, and then this cycle just perpetuates itself, and that's where the overthinking comes in. I overthink things that don't require any thought. It's not even just related to intimacy or vulnerability, it's just because I live in my head. I don't live in my body. We're always thinking, and for how much we think, we don't think a lot. I just feel so sad for people. It's just we
We all just want to feel like we're a part of something. That's it. You know, we want to feel like we're a part of something meaningful, and like so many of us are just not a part of anything like that. Human beings are more miserable than we ever have been. So at a certain point you have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? And I don't know, I think if I'm being honest, I think that it can be if we just find that balance between a connection to our internal selves, not letting the external self replace the internal self. I think that's what the answer has been all along. You know, and I think that's, you know, I've always been seeking something, and I think that that's the answer that I've been seeking this entire time, is just to surrender and allow something to happen. Stop trying to control every element of my life. Stop trying to control how I feel so often, and just allow myself to fucking feel. Like, let my brain do what it does. Let my body do what it does. You know, that's easier said than done, but just the simple act of just taking a breath in, out. I think that's how you really change. I think that's how the brain remains plastic, is by just, even though it seems impossible to make the right decision, even though something seems so difficult to do, you do it anyways. True courage and true strength to show those things. And I say that as a person who, like, you know, only in recent years has really let myself feel anything. But I think that I can truthfully say that that part of me is dying. I think that part of me is coming to an end. It's always just been so difficult to trust how I feel. Don't force yourself to not feel something that you're not feeling. Like, don't agree to something that you don't agree to. Our darkroom correspondent, Casey Ryan. Casey, tell us exactly what you see. Hello, Susan. Yes, thank you. Nothing. It's just dark. Back to you. Well, there you have it, folks. It is just dark in there. I am definitely starting to juggle with the desire to leave. I really want to be done with this. Just trying to justify and barter with myself. It's like why I should be done, but it's just, I think what has been most beneficial about this for me is just the removal of obligation and stress and pressure to just be with myself. I mean, that's, I think, the most beneficial thing. But as far as there's so much to do all the time. Like, the definition of doing nothing, there's so much that we could be doing. And I'm just so thankful to have, like, I'm so grateful to have the ability to do things. Just taking a walk outside and just breathing the air. I've taken a lot for granted in my life. And like I said, I will never complain about being bored again. Never. Trying to find connection only within yourself isn't only gets you so far. It only gets you to yourself, and this is where, like, the actual challenge starts. I think it's when it gets uncomfortable. The darkness does not stop. How comfortable you are with the darkness is a reflection of how comfortable you are with yourself. feel good. I just want to be outside.
I just want to be different. I'm so sick of being so fucking angry. I'm so sick of being alone. You get so used to being who you are that you don't even look in the direction of who you could be. I just want things to be different. And I just want to be different. I want to actually just be different, and I just want my brain to be different. I just want to feel good.
Underneath all the fear and the pain and the sadness and the heartbreak and the trauma, there's love in there. I've always just been afraid of somebody seeing me, you know? Like, who cares? That's the thing, it's like nobody does. I'm the only person that cares. But through that process, I held the awareness. I held the awareness of who I could be. And I worked toward that. But the reality is I'm the only one who needs my approval. And I've got it. But I'm just laying here thinking about like how much I want to do when I get out and how I want to feel, how I want to act. I just want to smile at people and be more open, just be more loving. Love is all and all is love. And it sounds so formulaic and romanticized when you say it like that. I just never thought that I would find it here, but I found it here. The belief in love is one that I didn't know that I could find. Full panoramic visions of the stars and they're swirling, and like I'm like spinning in a circle. It's almost like in the middle was this swirling black hole and just enveloped my vision. It's so beautiful. And then there's some flashes of purple and white against a black night sky with white stars. It feels like I'm taking a journey through space in a way, which is fitting for me because I love space. Kind of like this concept of a dark room being inner space. There's outer space, like the vast and infinite, and then there's the minute, the inner space, the minor space. There's the outer space and then the inner space. Outer space is the external, everything out there. The inner space is what's in here, what's underneath the darkness. Is being able to hear your eyeballs moving around in your head. Like when I move left to right, up and down, I can hear them going, whoa, 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 whoa. It's crazy. We all just want to be acknowledged and validated that we exist. And because I am so deprived of everything except myself, like I'm gonna have no choice but to love myself, you know. And I think I do. I don't think I've been able to. I think that's a big part of where my anger has come from. It's just not liking how I react in a moment, so I judge myself for it, and then I hate myself for it, or like any mistake I've made, big or small, in the past. It's just taking the opposite path of truth and vulnerability and courage, and all leading me to right here in this dark room, where after days in this dark room I can truthfully say that I think that I love myself. I've truly realized the value of meaningful connections. Being alone the rest of his life, sad boy thing, I think it's ran its course for me, and I'm ready to move on, step into a new chapter. The most challenging thing I've ever done. Tomorrow I arise out of the darkness. This is what I was called to do. I wanted to do this, and I did it. I'm proud of myself for doing that. I'm proud of myself for being here, for honoring myself. But I think it was what I needed. These gentle yet sombering reminders. Here's to the next chapter in my growth and the next chapter in my life. What you were seeking all along was not to fix, but to accept. The moment we go looking for something, we've already missed it. I don't think I need to seek anymore. I think I've already found. And nothing needs to be fixed anymore.
Oh my God, it smells so good. Oh my God. I was thinking about this while I was in there a lot, about how like there's our perceived reality and then there's actual reality. So like you have your reality being just essentially like an infinite nothingness with no sound or no light. And then I was thinking about how outside, like it's probably, there's planes going on overhead, there's birds outside, the sun is shining, but I'm just in here like excavating this part of my soul, and it's and then just coming out and just seeing just all of this beautiful surroundings, and then knowing that you were just in there doing something that was like, that seemed so challenging and so infinite, and you get accustomed to it.
Yeah, it's like being enfolded in like infinite, eternal space.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting that you said that specifically. I started thinking about there's outer space and then there's inner space. And this is like a perfect, I mean, it's the ultimate inner space to where you can just go to the deepest part within. Because all of this outer space, while I'm very grateful for it, it doesn't, it only serves you if you're in the right headspace and the right set and setting, and oftentimes we're not in that space. So taking that time to go into that inner space is so important, because it's just those reminders. I'm sure that prior to going to any darkness retreat that you ever did, you did all this self-development work. I mean, you were working towards that, sure.
Sure, yeah. Which
But-
is traditionally, like traditionally, practitioners are preparing for 5-10 years before they go into a dark retreat.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's not easy.
Oh, no.
And I think across the board, it's more challenging than everyone can even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at first, like the first like few hours in there, it felt like really peaceful. I was actually really enjoying it. And then even like the next morning a little bit. And then like the following day, it was like, okay, that's when it was like really starting to hit me. And, like just the challenge of it. But yeah, but what I was saying is, I'm sure that you put in all that work, and then going in there, like, you're like, oh, there's so many reminders that come up, just reminders. And mostly the biggest one for me was just reminders to be where I am. And, I attempt that so many times in my life. And then it seems like it's impossible to get there so many times. And then you experience something like that where it's just like you're almost grateful for the anxiety that you experience like out in the world, just because you're out in the world.
Right.
Yeah, it was just a really really beautiful way to explore the depths, for sure.
I recall a time when I go in now, I won't have anyone bring me food. I'll go in for 10 or whatever days and just have somebody come up halfway through.
Wow.
On the 4th or 5th day, and just let me know that I'm halfway through. It's like kind of track time after that.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling when somebody came up and I was like, somebody could come and just yell at me and that would just make me happy. It's just like,
yeah.
just anything. Just
Yeah.
to, like, it's amazing. We know ourselves so much through the reflections of life. And just the validation and support that we get from just somebody acknowledging that we're alive.
Even if it's negative.
Even if it's negative,
Yeah.
it's just like somebody's acknowledged that we're actually existing. Because in there, you're the sole source of acknowledging existence.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else qualifying existence except us.
Yeah.
Which is, like out here, there's a million things expressing a different quality of life.
Yeah.
But in there, there's
just
only us. There's one expression
yeah.
at a time.
Yes, one expression at a time. Yeah, and I was noticing that too, like in my meditations. I had that thought was a big primary one for too, just like what I would do to see somebody like smile, and I could smile at somebody, and I'm typically pretty introverted, and I don't even necessarily go out of my way to do that often, which I might change now, but just to have exactly what you said, that just acknowledgement that you exist from like a smile, or like somebody just waving at you, or getting cut off in traffic, or whatever it may be. But in my meditations in there, I was practicing just like hugging myself and being like I'm here with you, and like we're all we have right now. And those like kind of carried me through some of the scarier times, because it's almost like forcible self-love in a way. Not forced in more in a gentle sense, but it just like it forces you to like validate yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the turning inwards.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what that's sometimes what it takes for like to really light a fire under that path of going inwards.
Yeah.
Of the solitude, because you have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do. You can suffer or you can turn inwards.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the edge.
Yeah.
In there. And
Yeah.
I think that's the edge that is really fine, because there's like tools that we need to navigate in there so that we don't cross over into just like
Yeah.
not being able to find that space within to
Yeah.
just like relax and rest.
Yeah. I think it's almost like some sort of like existential yoga. Like that in yoga, you push toward that edge and like you breathe in a little bit more and push past it and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
And then in your next practice, you do go a little deeper. And
Right.
like, so yeah, it was, I feel, and it's hard for me to say stuff like this, but I feel proud of myself for like honoring my edge and like recognizing like where I was in that moment and when, and also just showing compassion for myself. And because so many times I think, I'm not sure if you have any, I'm sure that you do, but so many times we value our worth based on how much we produce or how much we, you know, or if we're resting, then we're dying, you know, and like that's, and in there it's like resting is what kind of brings you to life. It lets you acknowledge that like through the rest we're able to produce and be worthy and feel worthy. And
Right.
yeah, it's just I mean there's so many things that are, you know, there's so many things to process, but
I like that. I mean, it's the rest, and you know, when we spend a lot of time in nature, it's like nature's in deep rest.
sure.
There's still action and movement, but it's like,
Yeah,
you know, it's in deep rest. And
Yeah.
it's from that space where,
it does what it needs to, but nothing more.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it does it like, and it shifts the scope of desire, whereas from that space of rest, desire, like in that rest there's fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And then so when desire arises, it's like a desire to play, or a desire to express, or a desire to serve.
Yeah.
It's like an overflowing. It's not like a desire to consume
Yeah.
for the sake of happiness, because
Sure.
you're resting in happiness. So it's like a welling forth, and that's
Sure.
where the desire arises from. I mean, ultimately, when one's really resting in that space, good luck when you enter the world of desire and consumption.
Yeah.
But in a space where there's not that choice, it's a lot
Yeah.
easier
Yeah.
to connect and rest in that space.
I was thinking about that a lot, what you said about like when you came to deliver food last night, about how we can not only cultivate whatever experience we want, but it's also important to be authentic about what we desire and also acknowledge when we're being inauthentic. And I thought about that a lot, and I think that there's a vast difference between what we need and what we want. And I don't think that it's wrong to have these primal instincts or primal desires to want certain things, but it is important, I think, to vet those desires and discover which ones are serving us versus which ones aren't. You know, and like in the moving towards our higher self, which is, you know, from me, what I want to bring forward in my I want to desire the truth. I want to desire compassion. I want to desire like a loving partnership where there's vulnerability and trust. And I want to foster more of a connection to the world, because I've just kind of I've closed myself off in so many different areas of it, like feeling that, you know, somebody else might be trying to attack me or take something from me, and like I just being more open to the experience of being a human. You know, yeah, some more big takeaways for me. I was noticing I could hear my eyes moving in my head.
Oh.
Like if I would move them like left to the right, they would go like womp, womp, womp. Yeah, that was wild. So many interesting sensations.
Sometimes in there, I like to listen. Like there's like the inner sounds. Like when the mind has moments of stillness, there's still like there's sounds that happen. I think in Tibetan yoga, it's called like Nada yoga, and they actually say like that the organs and like the blood and like it has a sound.
Yeah.
And we're usually not quiet enough to hear it, but when I'm in there, sometimes I'll spend hours just listening for the softest, subtlest sound, and then like just resting in it, and then another like even softer sound arises, and just at times like having awareness games where it's like there's a lightness and there's a fun in subtle creation. Like our culture and our life doesn't know much subtle creation. Everything's so I mean, and I also love raw, primal, just full wild creation, but there's that balance of also like, I mean, I guess there's like Tai Chi and Qigong, and like there's that dance of subtle, like finding fulfillment in the subtle. And that's ultimately what what the darkness offers, right? You're finding fulfillment in resting. And like subtle creations and expressions.
Something that I agree with all of that, and something that you said last night, again, that was really, it was last night or the night before, I can't remember, but you said that through the rest, we're all like, everything that we're seeking is found, something along those lines. And I think that's what I have needed for so long, was to just do literally nothing. And like, when I say do nothing, you're not doing nothing in there, because it's you're doing nothing when you're resting, but like when you're sitting there breathing, there's plenty, like what you said, there's plenty of sensations to be heard, and I could hear my digestion and hear my ears ringing, and there's plenty of things to, I guess, to pay attention to in that nothingness. But it was honoring, okay, if I feel tired right now, I'm gonna go lay in bed, and just being okay with that, instead of judging myself for it, thinking like, oh no, you should do more yoga now, or meditate more. It's like all these shoulds and coulds,
which are cultural. They're not really our true movement. Right. Which is amazing in there to like exploring desire and teasing apart like what is really my desire and what's like other people's desires projected on me, my family's desire projected on me, my culture's desire projected on, like, what is it that I really want and I really value? And it's amazing. I mean, even for a lot of us, who live not in like the mainstream, there's the depth of conditioning from our culture is to our core.
It bleeds everywhere.
It's how we were raised. So it's like, it bleeds everywhere.
It bleeds everywhere, and that's oftentimes there's no escape. Like, even, I try to spend a lot of time in nature and in silence, but even then, like, you just feel so. That was the big one, is just not feeling rushed to do anything, to just like feeling rushed to just be, or I mean, not feeling rushed to, like, in my life. I mean, I'm always going to, I think moving forward, it's going to have a big shift in like how I do things, but I'm happy with the things that I do. I'm just not happy with the way in which I do them.
That's like the quality. Right, that we bring. It doesn't matter what we do, it's how we do it. It's the quality that we bring to it.
And it's just like, I wake up in the morning, do my breath work, and then I like, okay, breath work's done, time to meditate. So then I meditate, and it's like, a meditation's done, time to cold plunge. You know what I mean? It's just like, I enjoy those things, and I think they have a benefit to me, but like, I feel like we're always in such a hurry. And in there's no hurry, because you don't have a choice. Like, even to go to the bathroom, you have to move slow and just walk with patience and move with intention. And this whole time, in my outside in the world, like, I thought that I was doing that, and I wasn't. And so it's just this beautiful and sombering reminder of.
But you were, see, because it's like, and then how slow you were moving in there. Like, maybe say you come in a year or 2 years and you do another dark retreat, or something happens in your life and you'll be like, you were moving as slow as you possibly could.
Okay.
Right? Because how you were moving in there, like, it gets even deeper and slower and more intentional and more deeply felt and more like the depth is endless. Right?
Yeah.
So like, you know, I think there's that like, you know, however, I don't know if you've ever read any Sam Harris.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know, it, like that ultimately whatever's arising is like, it's the best that it's what it's arising. It's the best that we can do.
Yeah.
And so it's as slow as we possibly could go based on our structure, our conditioning,
Sure.
our awareness of our desire, you know, everything that's like, it's,
Yeah.
like you couldn't really move any slower. It almost just wouldn't be possible. I think of that more, I see that more with my kids.
Yeah.
They're 3 and 6, and it's like sometimes he roars, and it's like 8 in the morning, and he comes in bed and he's just like, "Argh," and we're just like, I mean, we told you like 100 times yesterday to stop roaring in the house. I would tell him to please not roar, and like 2 minutes goes by and again he's roaring, and it's just like, I get upset, and it's just like so triggering. My whole body's like cringing because it's so early and I don't want anyone roaring at me. And but it's like when I have a moment and I could take space, I understand that like he actually like, he just can't not roar.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, it's easier to see that in a kid, but it's like he actually doesn't have the capacity to just like not roar.
But I think there's a really good metaphor for just humanity in general in that roar. It's like sometimes we can't help but roar.
Right.
You know, and for me, my roar is sometimes a literal roar. I mean, like, I think my primary emotion that I feel, it would be anger, not like rage in a sense, but anger. And like so many times like judging yourself for it, like, but then it's okay. You know, it's like, it's okay to be wherever you are.
Right.
And obviously try to not to inflict harm on another person when you're in a state of, you know, sadness or triggering. I mean, it's actually somewhat refreshing to me to know that a person of your stature gets triggered still, you know, and
all day.
Yeah.
Not all day, but
often
throughout the day.
Yeah. And I think that it's just these, again, it's that radical acceptance of like, okay, you can't always be on.
Right.
You can't always be like this ideal, what the ideal embodiment of me would be. I can't be that all the time.
Right, but is that really your core desire, or is your core desire more radical acceptance?
Yeah, that's such
where,
a good distinction.
And like really getting clear on the like the scale of where your desires really fall. Like you have our ideal, but it's like more we desire radical acceptance.
Sure.
Because it's from that space that we can rest.
That's so beautiful too. Like that notion of like, instead of desiring to be perfect, I will accept the fact that I'm not. That's so good. Yeah. That's beautiful.
And then it allows us, there's like infinite compassion that arises from really resting in that. Because then you allow everyone else to just be exactly how they are.
Yeah. All right, I just came out of the dark room, and wow, a lot of lessons to be reflected on and reminders to be reflected on, but yeah, that's all I'm gonna say right now. Coming out of that dark room and seeing the light for the first time was perhaps the most blissful and happy moment of my life. So what did I learn? I learned to be where I am, and that being where I am is completely okay. I learned that there is an edge, and to go beyond the edge only a little bit, honor it, and return to where you are. That everything I was looking for, I already had within me. I learned that deep rest is the antidote to everything that ails us. That sometimes deep rest is the most productive thing that we can do. And lastly, I learned that it is always crucial to try and improve things and be different. But sometimes the person that you've always wanted to be, you already are. And that is enough.